Namaskar, welcome to my classes. Today I am going to continue with the second part of the video on control and coordination. Before beginning the next class, I hope you all very well remember this structure. Yes, this is the structure of the neuron. Today we are going to learn how these neurons can control the whole body system. Yes, we are going to study in detail how this is going to happen. But before that, are you able to listen something? Can you tell me what is it? Yes, it is the ringing of bells. These bells were present near me but not with you. Then also you were able to mark that sound. That sound was able to travel through this video up to your ears. I also have these flowers with me. Can you just tell me what is the color of these flowers? Absolutely right. These flowers are of white color. So, how can you tell that these colors are white? You can tell that because of presence of your eyes. Eyes are one more kind of sense organs. But these flowers don't only have a white color. These flowers are also beautifully scented, and this scent can be received only with the help of our nose. Nose is the third kind of your sense organs. Next is the turn of these chilies. So you must be knowing the taste of these chilies. How are you able to taste these chilies? With the help of which of your sense organ? Yes, correct. It is because of your tongue. What about this soft toy? This is a soft toy of my niece. Yes, we can feel the softness of this toy with the help of our skin, which is present on all over our body. Many of you might be thinking these are the old things and I'm just repeating the same thing again. But let us recapitulate and know further that these sense organs are having certain receptors or receiving parts which can receive different kind of stimulus. Like for example, our tongue can receive the taste of different kinds. These receptors are called as the gustatory receptors. Our ears can receive sound, and this sound receiving parts or the receptors are called as the audio receptors. Our eyes are sensitive towards different frequencies of light. That's why we are able to differentiate between different colors. So our eyes also have a receptor called as the photoreceptors. Next, our nose is having a sense towards the smell. These smells, whether good or bad, can be received with the help of olfactory receptors. And finally, our skin, which is present all over our body, can also receive or feel the things. That receiving organ or the receptor is called as the thigmoreceptors. By now, you all have got a basic idea of how the messages or the stimulus is received by our sense organs, and there are total of 5 sense organs. Now, what happens to these stimulus once they are received by the receptors? These receptors send the same stimulus in the form of message to the central nervous system. The central nervous system, hope you remember that it consists of two parts, the brain and the spinal cord. So these neurons which carry the message from the receptor organ up to the central nervous system are termed as the sensory neurons. Next, what happens once the message reaches your central nervous system? The central nervous system receives the message and then processes the message and takes the necessary action. So during this receiving, processing of the message, if there is an emergency, immediately the central nervous system sends the message to the effector organ or the organ which will take the action, necessary action, through another type of neuron called as the motor neuron. Let me give you one example. Suppose you went to the village. In the village, when you wanted to take a bath, you went to the bathroom and you saw a snake hanging from the ceiling. What will you do? Of course, you will throw whatever was there in your hand and you'll start running. So what happened in this case? Your photoreceptors present in your eyes received the message that there's a snake, and these receptors immediately sent this message to the central nervous system through sensory neurons. And as soon as your central nervous system received the message, what it did? It processed and immediately took an action by sending a message through the motor neurons to your legs, which are the effector organs, to start running. The second example which I am giving you is, you many a times must have touched a hot object. Once you touch a hot object, immediately what happens? You remove your hands from that object, because the thigmoreceptors which are present on the skin send the message to the CNS through the sensory neurons, and the CNS, after processing, sends back the message through the motor neurons to remove your hands. Both these examples which I cited just now are the nervous system responses in the form of reflex action. Now you must be thinking, what is a reflex action? So reflex action is an immediate reaction or instant reaction towards a stimulus, and the pathway, that is the neural pathway through which this reflex action occurs, is termed as the reflex arc. Here's a diagrammatic representation of the reflex arc. In the diagram, you can clearly see the receiving of the heat or the pain, which is the stimulus, by the skin. The skin is having the thigmoreceptors, and the message is passed through the sensory neurons up to the CNS, the spinal cord part, where it is processed with the help of the relay neurons, and then it is passed further through the motor neurons to the effector organ or the effector muscles in the arm, so as to remove the hand from the hot object. The neurons present in between the sensory and the motor neurons are termed as the relay neurons. Hope now you are able to understand the reflex arc. Now you know that neurons are the longest cell in our body. So what do you think? Is there a single neuron present between your receptor organs and the spinal cord? No, it's not like that. There are multiple number of neurons which are linked together to pass the message up to the CNS through a receptor organ, and the same way from the CNS to the effector part. The junction between two neurons is called as a synapse. Let us study in detail how this synapse works. Here's a diagrammatic representation of the synapse. There are two neurons. One red colored axon terminal ends are getting in close contact with the blue colored second neuron through the dendrites. This junction between the terminal ends of the axon and the dendrite of the second neuron is called synapse. Here's another picture which depicts the synapse. There are two neurons. One which is passing the message is called presynaptic neuron, whereas the second one which is receiving the message is called as postsynaptic neuron. And the gap between these two neurons is termed as the synaptic gap. The presynaptic neuron brings the message up to the terminal ends in the form of electrical impulse. Now, this electrical impulses gets transformed into chemical messengers termed as the neurotransmitter molecules. These neurotransmitter molecules reaches the end of these presynaptic knobs and releases the neurotransmitters into the synaptic gap. The postsynaptic neuron has the receptors for these neurotransmitters which receive these messages and again transform it into the electrical form for its further transport. With this, I would like to end today's lesson. Today, we learnt that the nervous system gets information from our sense organs and acts through our muscles, and the structure of the neuron here, which shows that it acts like a postman and helps in transmitting the message from one part to another. Hope you all will be joining me again in my upcoming class. Thank you. Happy learning.